what a Schiff show. Senator Adam Schiff is at the center of a mortgage fraud scandal. Now, there's a lot to be said about that. Did he lie to some certain regulator to decrease his mortgage rate? Did he skip out on property taxes? All of that is going to be sorted out. What I think should be talked more about are all of the other details that are coming to light, like specifically where Adam Schiff lives. Now, this is not at all a doxing moment. You're probably going to see a picture of his house on the B-roll. Nobody's saying to do anything with that. What we're saying is that the man represents the greater Los Angeles area, but does he have a presence there? Does he live there, or does he live entirely in his schwanky DC house? Senator Schiff bought a 3,400 square foot home in a very, very nice suburb of Washington, D.C. in the state of Maryland for, well, we don't tell you how much specifically it was, but it's doubled in value since 2003 when he was in D.C. as a congressperson. And what does he own in the town that he represents, the constituents that he so ardently supports? Well, 600 square foot, 1-bedroom, 1-bath condo in Burbank. Now tell me, does that feel like a guy who is representing his area, or a guy who went to DC and is basically living there and just pretending to represent the folks in California as a senator now? Here to comment on that and so much more is our fantastic panel. David Pollack is the host of the David Pollack Show, and comedian Kayvon. Guys, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, Rob. It's a pleasure to be here.
David, I understand that politicians have to have places in D.C. I'm not saying that he shouldn't have his place in D.C., but his neighbors say, no, he spends all of his time here. He's always here. This is his primary home. All of the tax stuff, potential mortgage fraud aside, what does it say that our politicians are just so open with, yeah, I live in D.C., but the place that I represent, I got a 1-bedroom, 1-bath condo that's 600 square feet that I never go to. What does that say about our modern politicians?
Yeah, I have a solution for this. I think we should put all DC politicians in barracks, right? Like military-style barracks with bunk beds, and the Speaker of the House or the leader of the Senate will be like the drill sergeants. They walk through and they wake them up in the morning. They're like, get up, we have bills to pass. You know, that's what I think we need to do, because the idea that they can go and just win an election in a district, plant a little flag there, build a tent there in a place like California, where that's really all you need to be a resident. Put your little tent there in Burbank, and then you go to Washington D.C., the swamp, and you go and buy $1 million+ residence, and you spend most of your time there, and then you come to your district when you have to. Meanwhile, you're flying back to D.C., where you're really making a home. This is the problem with Washington D.C. This is how we fix it, by not allowing our politicians to own homes anywhere but the districts that they live in, other than vacation homes. And we have to track how much time they spend there, because the idea that they can live in DC and represent a district they never go to is everything that's wrong in Washington.
Totally. And the thing is, like, I don't even necessarily know if there's a law that would feasibly make that work, because you got a whole bunch of different freedom issues. What I think is it should be a voters thing. Kayvon, why are voters okay with this sort of thing? Because to me, if you're representing my area, I want you to know about my area, and therefore you probably should live in my area and then go to DC when you have to, not the other way around.
Well, as a longtime resident of California, most of the voters there just want free handouts, so they don't care where the politician lives as long as they're giving away the freebies. But I think it's ironic that this is what they tried to nail Trump on, which is like mortgage fraud. And this Schiff character was able to get a 3% interest loan on his place in DC and in Burbank, claiming he has 2 residents. You can only have 1 for that sweetheart of a deal. And isn't it true when the Democrats all have the same exact kind of talking point? I remember Jasmine Crockett said, no one is above the law when this came to Trump. And then Schumer said, no one is above the law. And then Nancy Pelosi came and said, no one is above the law. So if they can say it 3 times, they know they are breaking the law.
Kayvon, I don't appreciate you making me stop laughing with your fantastic impersonations there. Really don't appreciate that. And also, yeah, thanks for reminding everybody that, yeah, this is what they quote unquote nailed President Trump on. Hey, this deal that you made where everybody ended up walking away happy and there was no victims in it, we're going to get you because you overvalued something, or at least claimed to have, and which is something that everybody does when they're trying to take out money. But we'll leave that there. It's crazy to me how lavishly some of these politicians live in DC, and in the place they represent, they're living in a shack, or like you said, David, possibly a tent on the street.